I think it's very likely that most people, even in spite of their normative ethical leanings, already accept that we have direct duties to non-human animals. By direct duties, I mean treatment we owe to an individual. An example would be the direct duty not to unnecessarily harm your neighbor. This can be contrasted with indirect duties, which are about the treatment of things in relation to individuals. An example of an indirect duty would be that of not damaging your neighbor's property. This duty is grounded in how it would negatively impact your neighbor. Many prominent philosophers have held that we only have indirect duties to non-human animals. Some of these philosophers include Thomas Aquinas, John Locke, and Immanuel Kant. Because harming non-human animals can lead to neglecting one's duties to moral agents, we ought to treat non-human animals with some care so that we do not violate our duties toward moral agents. In the words of Kant, he who is cruel to animals becomes hard also in his dealings with men.
This is our chance to get hard.
Okay. I still don't know if this is the best way to get hard.
Of course it is. This is totally hard. Look, you want to get hard, don't you?
Oh, I want to get hard. I want to get very, very hard.
So the thought roughly goes, while I don't think an indirect duties view gives a complete picture of the moral status of non-human animals, I can still understand and sympathize with the arguments of Aquinas, Locke, and Kant here. After all, there seems to be some truth behind the idea that those who abuse animals are likely to become desensitized to violence, including violence against humans. At the very least, abusing animals is seen as an indicator of a budding psychopath. That said, rarely does anyone adamantly defend the position that it's permissible to torture a stray dog if it has no repercussions for moral agents. If the dog will have no social ties to moral agents, no agents will be distressed by the dog being tortured. If the torture is done in secrecy, no agents will ever know about it, and so, again, they cannot be distressed by the act. And if this does not encourage our budding Ted Bundy to be cruel to moral agents after he's done with the act, then there's no increased threat to them once he's finished torturing the dog. Yet, in the absence of any indirect duties, many people would still recognize some obligation not to torture the dog. That is, the budding Ted Bundy, whether he harms moral agents or not, does something wrong. What he does wrong is not captured by a failure and obligation owed to moral agents. Rather, we owe it to the dog not to torture him. This intuition, one that challenges Aquinas, Locke, and Kant, is inconsistent with what many people believe in at least one of two ways. First, if we do not have direct duties to non-human animals, then our intuition concerning the impermissibility of torturing stray dogs, for example, is off the mark. In other words, in the absence of direct duties to a stray dog, and if there's no indirect harm or wrong caused to any moral agents by the act, a stray dog has no claim not to be tortured by us for fun. In the absence of any wrongdoing to moral agents, we have no duties, direct or indirect, to this dog. In a world in which people are indifferent or enthusiastic about inflicting pain on dogs, it would arguably be permissible or obligatory, under the no direct duties view, to torture stray dogs. Clearly, this goes against what we ordinarily believe is acceptable treatment of dogs, and few people, even if they accepted this position or line of reasoning, would act on it or encourage others to do so. To say the least, this position is a tough sell, and it's one few people consistently believe or act upon. The second option is that we do have direct duties to non-human animals, such as stray dogs. Regardless if people care about dogs or greatly enjoy inflicting pain on them, torturing them would be wrong because we owe it directly to dogs not to torture them. However, if we do have direct duties to dogs, and presumably other animals with similar characteristics, then I'd argue that we fail to take at least some of these duties seriously when we use these animals for food, clothing, experimentation, amusement, and the like. One direct duty being that of not causing harm to others for our convenience or pleasure. I think it's clear that if we have any direct duties to others at all, we would owe it to others not to inflict pain on them simply for our convenience or pleasure, especially when there are alternatives. If that's the case, then this is a moral obligation we fail to take seriously when we slaughter billions of land animals yearly for food and clothing, or when we permit millions yearly to be subjected to medical experimentation. From what I can see, there are at least two remedies to this inconsistency many of us face. One is to revise or abandon our normative ethical theories that conflict with our pre-theoretical beliefs, such as the belief in the impermissibility of torturing stray dogs. The second is to revise or abandon our pre-theoretical beliefs, again, such as the belief in the impermissibility of torturing stray dogs, that conflict with our normative ethical theories. The first option leads to a theory that recognizes our direct duties to non-human animals and denies the permissibility of torturing dogs. Additionally, it would be a theory that could call for either the complete abolition of animal exploitation, akin to Tom Reagan's view, or the minimization but ultimate permissibility of animal exploitation, akin to Peter Singer's view. The second option is to accept a normative theory that allows for the permissibility of torturing stray dogs for questionable ends, such as pleasure and convenience. Again, this is a tough sell.